Every time you watch a reality show, you think, it's all make-believe, the contestants have made a deal, and everyone will get out alive. But sometimes, that's not the case at all. Some shows deliberately drove people to genuine nervous breakdowns, real injuries, and even deaths, all for the sake of ratings and advertising dollars. And the worst part, millions of viewers watched it live, applauded, and demanded even more. Television was happy to give it to them. Today, 5 true stories about how television people crossed the line, and what happened to the people they exploited for ratings and money. These stories are not made up. They all happened on real sets, with real people, just like you. Some of these people never fully recovered. Producers signed contracts, viewers paid to watch, and the participants were psychologically scarred for life. This is what it really looked like. Television long ago understood the most important thing. Human suffering is a spectacle. The greater the pain, the higher the ratings. And while someone watched, someone else paid with their health. So let's begin. 5 real shows. 5 stories about how television drove people to breakdowns, while millions of viewers watched and couldn't look away.
I want fireworks, kid!
Imagine being doused with gasoline and dragged through a fiery tunnel, or having a tube inserted down your throat and raw animal brains poured in, voluntarily, or shoved into a cage with gorillas, smeared with bananas, or hung upside down over a fire with cockroaches stuffed in your shirt. This isn't a scene from a horror movie. This is exactly what happened in a Japanese endurance show in the 1980s. The participants, ordinary students, competed to see who could endure pain and humiliation the longest. They were starved to the point of despair. And then, at the finale, were taken to an expensive restaurant and forced to eat, but forbidden to eat. The winners simply held out the longest. The grand prize was a week-long trip. 1 week. For this, people endured things that would drive a normal person crazy. The producers filmed close-ups of tears and screams. The show entered the Guinness Book of Records as the most brutal game show in the history of world television. But this didn't stop television producers. The format was eagerly bought by dozens of countries. European and American television networks studied the recordings and marveled at the ratings. No one thought about the students who were doused with gasoline for the sake of a weekly episode. The show was eventually canceled due to government pressure, but it managed to inspire a whole generation of producers. People will tolerate anything, as long as they call it entertainment. A young actor thought he was going to a casting. They asked him to undress, saying it was part of the assignment. Then they locked him in an empty room with no clothes, no food, and no explanation. The only rule: everything he needed to survive had to be won in postal contests. He sent out thousands of entries and once won canned dog food. He ate it because he had nothing else. Sometimes he got lucky. He won a bag of rice, a folding tent, or a bicycle, in a room with barely enough room to move. Weeks without food alternated with weeks on rice and nothing else. For a year and a half, he lived alone, naked, in complete isolation. And he didn't know that 15 million viewers were watching him 24/7 every week. No one told him. When the walls of his room collapsed, he found himself in the middle of a huge studio full of people. They laughed and clapped. He asked only one thing: why were they laughing? It turned out, over all this time, the producers had made him a star. The country knew his face, his humiliation, his tears. He himself knew nothing. His right had been deliberately deprived. After the show, he was diagnosed with a severe mental disorder. He spent years recovering. His suffering was broadcast without his consent, and the producers won a TV award for Best Show of the Year. In 2008, an American show asked people to answer 21 personal questions while hooked up to a lie detector. For every honest answer, they'd receive money. The questions were designed like a surgeon's scalpel. Have you cheated on your spouse? Have you wished death on a loved one? Have you taken someone else's property? Have you ever thought ill of your own children? All this in front of a live family in the studio and millions watching. The producers deliberately seated those most hurt by the truth: husbands, children, parents. One contestant confessed to her husband live on air that she cheated on him and that their child wasn't his. She answered all the questions honestly, received her money, and left the studio. The family remained in the audience. Psychologists working on the show later admitted that the contestants were deliberately thrown off balance backstage right before filming. A breakdown on camera wasn't a risk, it was the goal. The show was canceled after one season. Too many families broke up, too many people ended up in psychologists. But 30 million people watched it. The ratings were excellent. The sponsors were happy. The next season was in development, right up until the very end. The real pain of real people turned into the best-selling content of the year, all under contract. The show is gone, but the idea lives on. Every year, somewhere in the world, they come up with a new format where people are offered money to destroy themselves live on air. A Dutch television channel announced that a terminally ill woman would choose live on air to whom of 3 participants she would donate her kidney. 3 real people who were facing death without a transplant. The participants spoke about their pain, their families, and how long they had left without surgery. The studio appealed to the viewers. Sympathy. People voted for their favorite candidate, as if in a competition. It was humiliation wrapped in a television show. Sick people were forced to fight for their right to survive, for the amusement of the public. The whole country watched to see who could cry the most convincingly. In the end, the host declared that the sick woman was just an actress, a prank designed to attract attention. But the 3 participants were real. Their pain was real. They were used as props. The scandal reached the government. Parliament held hearings on the admissibility of such programs. The producers claimed they wanted to draw attention to the shortage of donor organs. They were not believed. The ratings for that broadcast were record-breaking. The channel received international attention. None of the creators were punished. The show was canceled, but only after its goal had been achieved. The 3 people used in the show were still awaiting operations. Their fates were no longer shown on television. After all, without the cameras, their story no longer interested anyone. A French survival show hadn't even aired when it had already claimed the lives of 10 people. 2 helicopters carrying a film crew collided in the skies over Argentina during filming. 3 famous athletes were among the dead. Cameras captured the moment of the disaster. The show was marketed as a moderately extreme adventure. No one expected real death. The surviving participants refused to continue filming. The project was canceled. The date of this disaster is now remembered in France as the day the reality television industry paid its heaviest price. This is not an isolated incident. Participants in various shows have suffered fractures, burns, and mental breakdowns. But contracts were signed, and producers usually evaded all responsibility. Every time a show ends in tragedy, the producers say, the participants took the risk themselves. They are adults. They signed the papers. So it's not our fault. But no one signs up for a mental breakdown. No one agrees to be the victim of a prank for ratings. No one goes to a casting to have their life ruined on camera. Next time you turn on a reality show, think, what happens where the camera isn't looking? Subscribe to the channel and watch other episodes. It's important.